Hello YouTube! Today, on this episode of Gadget, we're going to change out a regular house switch.
Yeah, let's light this up. Alright, enough of that. Let's get something done. You're wasting my paint.
Oh, whoa. Don't worry, you got the right guy here. Kind of shaved off my douche knot a little bit. Took the pubes off my face. Got bored. So today we're going to change this switch. Now why are we going to change this switch? Because it's broken. Obviously, it's broken. Jeez. Now, here's the symptom. I knew this house was redone in the 80s. This second story up here. So these are actually good switches. But I'm assuming, I'm not exactly sure on this, but I removed two 100-watt light bulbs, the incandescents, and I got about like 3-4 months, and it started doing this. Now let me get down to showing you this on what it actually is doing here. I'm thinking that since it got so used to a higher draw of current, that when I switched over to the LEDs, the switch isn't liking it. This is not the first time this happened. This is actually going to be the third time this happened. Not here in this location, but in other areas of other houses. Just due to the fact of the switches are worn in to a point that they're still good for a higher amperage or current. And then when you switch to the LEDs, it's like, it doesn't have anything. Because now these LEDs are 7.5 watts a piece. Save money, but now I'm spending money on switches. But I don't know. We're going to get down to how to change a switch. Now, first off, we got to diagnose what type of switch it is. Now, there's multiple different types of switches. You got the standard switch. Okay, this controls one thing only. That's all it does. Well, it's only one switch to operate items. Let's get that more correctly. So, this is the only switch. Say, turn it on. It can't be turned off unless it's over here at this same exact switch. Now, a two-way and a three-way switch. You're going to know them right off the bat. I'm going to zoom up on a two-way switch here. Okay, so notice it doesn't say on and off. That's how you notify that it is a two-way switch. But also, you're going to have another switch that controls that same light or outlet or something like that. So, today we're just doing a normal household switch. There'll probably be another video for two-way switching, three-way switching. Well, I gotta get there sometime. I'm getting going here. Getting going. So, let's diagnose what the problem is. I'm going to turn out the studio lights, alright, and show you what's going on. Alright, now that the studio lights are on, I'm going to turn on this switch. At first, it doesn't do nothing. Then it just starts flickering. Alright, you jiggle it a little bit, it still does the little same flicker. You can actually hear it arcing in there. It's inside the switch that it's actually arcing. So the contact point isn't getting enough contact. So let's turn this off before I give myself a stroke. And I'm going to turn back on the studio lights. Okay, now that the studio lights are back on, let's get down to the basics of what you need. Alright, really, any old flathead screwdriver. You can, this is like a cheesy little screwdriver. Really no big deal. But here's where your important part is. You're going to want a meter. Now they make several different types of meters. Okay, you can have the one with the light that when you get close to power it turns on a light. I don't like to use them because those are faulty itself. Maybe the battery went bad or something like that. So I always use a multimeter. These are cheap. They're like 10 bucks. It's really no big deal. We're going to show you how to use it real quick here. So it got this spinny dial here. Alright. It's going to say ACV. That is your household electric. It's alternating current voltage. So you could turn it on 200 or whatever setting it has past 110. Okay, so we're going to turn it on and make sure your probes are in the correct locations. So you can actually see right on here, it'll say voltage, ohms, and milliamps. So you want to keep your red probe there. And then your common, which is your black one. So let's check if this meter works. So we're going to just plug it right into an outlet. So there's an outlet right here. It doesn't matter yellow or red or blue, whatever probes you got, just stick them in there. Alright? It's going to read 120, 110, somewhere in that range. Okay? So now you know you got power, your meter's working. What we want to do is take our little screwdriver and remove this plate. Okay? I'm going to zoom all the way in to get better footage for you. I'm sorry about the lighting. I got to turn up the power here in order to operate, so I created a little studio lighting with an extension cord way out here. So bear with me. We're going to zoom in. Alright, so let's get started here. We're going to remove the plate. Yes, the power is on, so be careful. Right now, the power is on. So you're going to set your little cover plate screws to the side. It's not, don't lose them. You're going to need them. Got to put the cover plate back on. So we remove the cover plate. Don't stick your fingers in there. Now first we want to identify the switch. We got the switch. No big deal. But we want to make sure that it has proper power here. And then we're going to turn off the breaker. So on this little switch here, on the side is 2 gold screws. Okay, that's your hot wire. Your black. On the side here is a green. It's for ground. Now there's going to be a white wire floating around somewhere. You don't want to touch it. Okay, that is your neutral wire. It sends your power back to your box in order for you to create a circuit. Now if your switch, and you can obviously see it in here, it uses the black. So it's a correct wiring. If you see 2 white wires on there, you might have a problem. Please call a licensed electrician. Alright, so let's get that out of the way. So what they did is the proper thing. Since it's a metal box, they took electrical tape after they were done and wrapped up the outer edge. That's like overkill to me, but yes, it is the proper way of doing it because it is a metal box. The newer house is going to have a plastic box. So what you want to do is identify where everything is. Alright, I see it, I see it. And then we're going to probe for it to make sure we have power. So what are we going to do? Oh, well, there's no white wire. It's alright. We could just attach to the ground here because the whole thing is a metal box. It's all grounded. And then you come right on the side of the switch here. Oh, it's going to be on this side. Sorry. Alright. We probe the top. Hey, it's dead in the water. That's because the switch is off. We go to the bottom. We got 120. Turn the switch on. It's flickering. Flicker, 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 flicker. Then we put the meter on there to test it. Oh look, magically the lights want to work. Imagine that. So there isn't enough current in order for the switch to operate correctly because we use an LED lights. Simple problem diagnostics right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that new switch and we're going to switch it out. So now I got to go all the way down, go turn off the breaker. So bear with me, I'll be right back. Okay, I made it back. I had to figure out what breaker it was. Now how do you diagnose what breaker it is? I already kind of explained how to check the power. Well, it's the same way. You go downstairs, you see what's labeled. Usually it's some crappy labeling. And you turn off that breaker and you come back upstairs. And you gotta reprobe for your power. So we got it set on AC and we're holding the ground here. We're gonna come around the back and we already knew we had power there, now we don't. So now that the breaker is off, we can actually work. But we're gonna double check this other one over here just in case it's on a different circuit, which I highly doubt why someone will even do that. So on This other switch, everything is dead, so we're ready to start working. Now all we're going to do is just remove these 2 screws holding it in place. You're safe to work because you just double checked that you have no power, so you can be less careful. Don't be afraid. It's off. Can't do nothing. A lot of people get scared when they're playing on electric. Well, you're really not playing with it, but just remove the screws. You're not going to need them anymore. New switches come with screws already attached with cardboard to hold the screw in location. So we just go ahead and remove these real quick, yank everything out. So we're just going to pull it out, a little gingerly. Get a little rough there. Alright. So now we got all the space that we need to work. We remove this electrical tape, which is supposed to be done because it's a metal box. I really think it's pointless. Once it's screwed in, it's screwed in. It's never going to touch the side of the box. But it's just a case scenario. Now I'm noticing on this it doesn't have a ground wire actually hooked to it, which it doesn't matter in this case because it is a metal box. But I don't want you to get confused when you're doing a plastic box application. So this is the switch we're going to be replacing it with. Now you just got to double check that the ground screw, this green one, is a constant metal going all the way around your switch. Since we're using a metal box, they got all the ground wires attached to the metal box and then some. They're all knotted in together and it looks pretty good. And it's also attached and affixed to the box itself. It looks pretty good. Now remember, if they're using white wires here, they've done it wrong most likely, because you don't want to use the neutral switch, the neutral wire to be your switching agent. Maybe some electrician did accidentally switch from black to white, I don't know. I've seen it all. I've seen someone use the ground wire at one point just to make a connection from the side here to a wire not there, which left an exposed piece of wire that was hot. But it was a plastic box. It really kind of didn't matter. No one sticks their fingers in there. You know, I've seen so many shady things. But we're going to do the switch out. So it's really not that hard. You got your off position. Alright. It says off on the top. So this is the way we want to put it in. And all we're going to do is flop some wires. It's really no big deal. So we're going to take our screwdriver. We're going to loosen up the screws just to the point where they almost want to fall out. They actually kind of snug up a little bit because they don't want to come out. I guess it's some type of design. Some of them do fall out, some of them don't. But now it's loosened up. These people did the right thing and hooked it around. Some of them are affixed in a different location. I'll show you that in a minute. Let me undo it. We're safe to touch wires. You really shouldn't be touching the wires just in case, but we probed everything. Some of them got this little hole here. Alright, when you stick the wire in the hole, it actually kind of crimps onto it a little bit, so you're going to have to cut it off, snip it off, re-strip the wire a little bit. You can reinstall it that way, because they all have it. I just don't like to use it because it's not secure to me. So we're just going to reattach the wires the way they were. But the loop, when you want to put them on the screw, you got to think it tightens to the right. Okay, so you want to make the loop start here with the wire exposed and go around that way. So when you're tightening it, it actually closes on the loop a little bit. Gives you a little bit of better connection. So now we're snugged up a little bit because of the old one. And I had to spread it open. I used the screw itself to kind of spread it open. So you start one. And you want to go really snug. I don't think you can ever really strip them out. I've never stripped one out. So that's one attached. And you want to do the other one. So you kind of spread it open a little bit with the screw, get it on there. push it on with your screwdriver, it clipped in. This is the best connection to ever do. I don't like using them push-ins on the back of them. I think that's just a lazy application. Someone's trying to do things quick, and it always leads to failure. So now that one's all the way tight. Now in the case of a plastic box, you're going to take a little ground wire, which they're all back here, alright, and you want to go to the green. Since we're not using it, we're going to screw it in. So now when it operates, right now it's down, it's off. When you turn it on, it's going to make the connection from this to this. Really no big deal. So then here comes the fight part. This is always the hassle. It's trying to get it back in. So you're going to use the new screws that are already affixed onto this. If you bought a switch that doesn't have the screws, just reuse your own screws. It's really no big deal. I almost forgot something. Since we're using a metal box application, where did I put that? Oh, here it is. Standard electrical tape. Really no big deal. Since it's usually pretty old, you have to take some off. I don't use electrical tape that often. If I use stuff, it's like heat shrink and find the sticky area. So now we're going to loop that around. All we're trying to do is just cover them bolts. It's really no big deal. You can kind of skip this step, but if you get too close to the side of the box and you're drawing more current, it could arc to the side of the box. I've never ran into that. So now that I got the electrical tape around it, we're going to push it back in. Kind of bend the wires the way we need to bend them. Alright, so now we got a little electrical tape over here. And stick it, re-stick it that way. Now I'm over top of the screw. Now I'm over top of that screw. Alright, now that I unstick the electrical tape off of them screws, it's tough because how many wires are back behind here, so feel free to push away. Just make sure you don't whack off some of the wire nuts as they're making your connection back there. If it's just a standard one switch, you really don't have to worry about much. But you want to go until it starts to snug up a little bit. Alright. Now it's somewhat snugged up a little bit. It has a little space between them. Alright. So what I kind of do is kind of make sure I'm in place where everything's going to match up. And the slot area, you kind of carefully come off and you get its general location and then you tighten it down. Because you could actually make it so that cover plate don't go on. It's just a little wiggle room that the companies make for these that you can actually slide the switches around to get it to fit. I always just keep double checking. See, I went a little out there, so I know I got to pull this switch over when I'm retightening it up. So I want to pull the switch over a hair and give it more of a tightening. Move it back over. Now it's somewhat snugged up. We're going to check it again. Now it's lining up pretty good. I'm going to finish snugging it. Get it all nice and tight. And before I go and put the cover on, I'm going to go turn the breaker back on and double check that everything works. So I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We have the breaker on. We're going to do a test. Lights came on. Good. Lights go off. Lights go on. A little bit of jiggle, 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 jiggle. Careful on the jiggling. Don't want to stick your finger on the side of that. So, everything is set to go. We're going to put the cover plate back on. Kind of be careful because you can accidentally stick the screw somewhere where you can't get it out. Might jam them in. Since this has 4 screws, you want to just start each thread individual. So each screw gets started just a hair, and then you line it all up. And you start tightening them. You don't want to over tighten, you'll crack the plate. You want to go until it just starts snugging up. Screws sit in there nice and flat. I've already cracked them wooden ones. So now this cover plate's good. Still got all your lights. Everything's still fully functional. And you're done. Alright, so today we just did a normal household switch. Check out my other videos. You can subscribe down below. We're going to be doing 2-way switching, 3-way switching, household outlets, anything that breaks at my house, somebody else's house. I'm going to record it and upload it to you guys. I'm going to be saving so much money for people and uploading it so you guys can learn how to do these. I try to keep it simple, basic. Make sure you don't get into any danger type things. If I did something wrong, comment below. I'm always up to new ways of doing things. I just know I've been playing with electrical since about 18 years old. I got into a factory and my boss taught me all the electrical stuff that I needed to know, and we wired a whole bunch of stuff in the building, and I've learned everything from the 480 electric. You got 277, you got 220. There's so much out there, but I just want to save the homeowner the money. Alright, this is why I do these videos, so just hit subscribe and maybe hit a like button, comment below. Check out all the other people on this YouTube page. We're always here to entertain people and to save you money, so check us out. Alright, have a good one.